Good evening. It is 6 o'clock, July 31st, and this meeting of the County Board of Commissioners is called to order. We're pleased to have the pastor of Lomax Memorial Baptist Church here tonight to offer our invocation. Mr. Owens is also a Montgomery County deputy. Thank you for your service as well, Deputy Owens. Pastor, would you please ask for divine guidance and blessings for this meeting tonight?
Let's bow our heads. Father, we thank you tonight that you're able to get together. Bless you tonight, Lord God, just to guide the decisions that are made. We realize that every charge being put upon these folks of what they're doing for the community. We ask you help them do it with wisdom and understanding, the way we please you and understand we can't make everyone happy. We thank you, Lord God, that helps us to understand that all that they see about their eyes and not always so. We thank you that we have the ability and the knowledge and the opportunity to gather and talk and discuss and do what's right for the county. We just ask you, Lord God, to lead them. Again, you said if you're a man like wisdom, let him ask God liberally. We ask you, Lord God, right now, just give us understanding, wisdom, reason, and intellect, God, to make the right decision. We want to thank you for all you have done, all you do, and will do in the days to come. We ask you, Lord God, to hold us safe and hold our hand till you come back to receive us again. In your name, we humbly pray and ask. Amen.
Thank you again, Deputy. Our next agenda item is a Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Woodard, would you lead us in?
If you are able, please rise. Join us in reciting our pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioners, we now need a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Is it- Motion by Commissioner Matheny, seconded by Commissioner Mack. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. As most of you know, Commissioner Wooten resigned his seat on the board effective June 19th, and we certainly appreciate his service as a commissioner as well as his 43 years of public service in Montgomery County. By general statute, the Board of Commissioners has the authority to appoint a replacement as long as the replacement is of the same political party as a vacated seat and meets the district residency requirements. The board decided, as it did in January, when filling Commissioner Copeland's seat, to open the process to the public by soliciting applications. We have with us tonight the applicant of that process, Mr. Grant Henson. Mr. Henson has also been endorsed by the Montgomery County Democratic Party. Mr. Henson, we appreciate your willingness to serve and congratulate you on receiving the support of the party. If you will, please come to the podium and we'll begin. The board would like to give you the opportunity to make any opening comments that you desire, and then starting to my right with Commissioner Matheny, will give the board its opportunity to ask you questions about serving as a county commissioner. Mr. Henson, whenever you're ready.
Thank you,
Please.
Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioners and County Manager. First off, it's my pleasure to stand before you guys today. I'm very thankful for the work and the services that you all provide for the county. I wanted to let you guys know something, that the reason why I have applied for this position is not for my own personal interest, but it's for the interests of the people that are behind me. When you sit in a political office, it's all about service to the people and what you can do for the people. And it would be an honor and a pleasure to represent Montgomery County with this board in a commitment together to strive for excellence and continue to do what former Chairman Wooten was doing before he resigned. It'd be an honor to represent his legacy and to just keep Montgomery County moving forward. I yield my time back to you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Matheny, have any questions?
Well, thank you, Mr. Henson, for applying for the job. We appreciate your willingness to serve. If you, as you know, on the Board of Commissioners, it takes 3 votes, 3 out of the 5, to approve any action or to proceed with any action. If you could single-handedly approve an action for Montgomery County, what would it be?
Wow, that's a loaded question, Commissioner Matheny. A single vote, let's see. you know, it would probably be to increase pay for our county employees. What's troubling to me is the turnover rate across many departments. And we're a county who does everything we can with the resources that are provided to us. And I know that we appreciate everyone who works for this county, but it's disheartening to see people who love this place have to leave to take other jobs to work elsewhere for higher pay. And I know that since this was a loaded question, I could give you kind of a loaded response back, because that's something that we're necessarily not able to do. But if I could, that's what I would do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Crisco?
Well, Grant, I'd just like to congratulate you for showing your interest. I think the Democrats has sent us the person that they wished for us to choose, and so I see nothing wrong with it. So I'm not going to load you up. I think Mr. Matheny tested you there, and
He did.
so
I appreciate it. I understand.
so
Thank
I
you,
don't
Mr.
have any
Briscoe.
questions.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Mack?
Well, Grant, I too want to thank you for taking the time to fill out an application and apply for the position that Commissioner Wooten left vacant. I have a couple of questions. One, in going over your application, you indicated that you praised the school system, but you indicated that there was some improvements that were needed, still needed. And when you said improvements, that was plural. But I just would like for you to just give me one element where you think improvement is needed, that's of your highest priority.
Support staff. Our school system places an unbearable amount of weight on teachers in this county. It's my understanding that with the upcoming presence of the new high school, teacher-to-student ratios will be out of proportion. I understand that it is within the state's limitation, but that's a lot to ask for one teacher, and we are all aware of teacher pay in the state. The highest priority should be support staff. We need to make sure that these classrooms are prepared and these teachers are prepared to educate our students, and it's not something that they can do alone. So I believe the school systems need to have just far more presence than teachers and administration. That's far on the educational side of it.
Well, thank you. And the other question I have, you know, I was in in that same spot a few months back.
Yes, sir.
And one of the things that I had a pet peeve, well, it's not a pet peeve, it's really
Right.
something that I feel strong about and warm and deep about, and that is a county-wide police department. How do you feel about, and how would you support a county-wide police force?
Countywide police task, you know, to my understanding, there's one county in the state of North Carolina that utilizes a countywide police department, and that's Gaston County. What they do is, formerly known as the Sheriff's Office, they handle all civil papers, and then Gaston County has their own police department, which is a collaboration of all municipalities within the county. So the first step would definitely be to reach out to the chiefs of the municipalities and see where they stand, and see if this is something that they would help us reach towards. I understand there's going to be a lot of issues with that and issues on job security and things of that nature. But in order to take that step, you have to create a dialogue with the chiefs. It's their municipality. They know the area better than we do from a county standpoint. So that's going to require a lot of input from them.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
I have just a couple, and thank you for your interest in becoming a county commissioner, and looking forward to working with you. How many commissioners' meetings have you attended?
I've never attended a commissioner's meeting.
Okay, and how have you become involved in wanting to become a commissioner? How did you learn? And
Okay, I love it. Montgomery County started, I believe, in 2017. After every meeting, we upload it to YouTube. So a lot of Monday nights, I would be working late or have a ball game or something, and I would pull it up Tuesday morning and watch it. I'd watch the meeting in totality. I think that was a great tool. I've seen pretty much all of them over the past, I'd say at least 18, 19 months. So I know you might not think people are watching, but I know I was the next morning or whenever they were made available to the public. I'd always watch them on YouTube.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
As county commissioners, our responsibility is to the citizens of Montgomery County. And we work together, both parties together, to do what's best for the county. Do you have any problems working with, together with both parties, working?
Oh, no, ma'am. Madam Chair, this board is absolutely, it is a partisan board, but we work together as one unit and with Montgomery County's best interests in mind. So politics aside, we're going to work for what's best of the county, no matter what party does or doesn't support it. If it's good for the county, then we're going to move on it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Madam Chair.
Are there any other questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, I'd ask then for you to retake your seat so that we can offer the podium to any audience member who wishes to question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to question Mr. Henson? Okay, hearing none. Then having questioned Mr. Henson and having solicited comments from the public, what's the pleasure of the board for filling this vacant District 2 Commissioner seat?
Madam Chairman, I recommend that we appoint Grant Hanson as our next commissioner.
Okay, motion has been made by Commissioner Back. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Matheny. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Mr. Henson, congratulations on your appointment to this position. So to make it official, we have the clerk of court, Mr. John Deaton, with us tonight, who's going to do the swearing in. We'll ask you to come forward, Mr. Deaton.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Diane, you're gonna have to go on the other side of Grant.
Be glad to.
All right, now Grant, you're gonna have to come in a little closer.
Okay.
There we go.
Set this here in case I get tongue-tied. Lost in the process, but if you will, raise your right hand and repeat after me, please. Okay. I state your name.
I, Grant Henson,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of North Carolina,
of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as County Commissioner,
as County Commissioner.
so help me God.
So help me God.
I state your name.
I, Grant Henson,
Do solemnly and sincerely swear
do solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will be faithful
that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers
and to the constitutional powers
and authorities
authorities
which are or may be established
which are or may be established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor to support,
and that I will endeavor to support,
maintain, and defend
maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with
not inconsistent with
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge
to the best of my knowledge
and ability,
and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I state your name.
I, Grant Henson,
Do further swear
do further swear
that I will well and truly execute
that I will well and truly execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of County Commissioner
of County Commissioner
for the County of Montgomery,
for the County of Montgomery,
according to the best of my skill
according to the best of my skill
and ability,
and ability,
according to law,
according to law,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Glad Dr. was there to help me on that. Yeah, it sounded good to me, what it was.
Mr. Henson, given the circumstances and the likeliness of your appointment, I believe staff's already secured your name tag. If you'd step up to the open seat, please.
Yes, ma'am.
So I welcome you to the Montgomery County Board of County Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Deaton, for oath of office.
Thank you, Commissioner Mack.
Commissioners, the next item on the agenda is a nomination for vice chair. Commissioner chosen for this position will serve the remainder of the current calendar year until new officials are elected in December. Prior to the nominations, I'd like to address the board and the audience in regards to the recent personal tragedy which has befallen my family. Foremost, I'd like to thank everyone, the board, the staff, and the residents of this wonderful county who've all been so generous with their prayers and support for my husband, Danny. We have a long road ahead of us. We'll be in Chapel Hill for an indefinite period of time, but I trust and believe that all things work together for the good and that they have a purpose. And we'll learn to appreciate and we'll go stronger going through this. With that said, I believe one of my purposes is also to serve Montgomery County, and I intend to continue to serve as County Commissioner. I'll continue to work with all of you to make Montgomery County better, even though I'll be spending a majority of time in Chapel Hill with him. I'm aware of the availability commitment required to serve as chair. Tonight, for example, we have 5 public hearings, and I've studied the issues involved in detail, and this is my first meeting as chair, and I've not been available to meet with the manager to prepare satisfactory for the procedural requirements required to hold these hearings. For that reason, I have asked Commissioner Matheny, who served ably for 2 years as chairman, to conduct these hearings tonight. In the upcoming months, I'll ask the commissioner elected to serve as vice chair to prepare similarly. Again, I do not foresee having the availability to perform that function of the office to the level that I feel it deserves. So I ask the board's indulgence for this request. Are there any concerns or any questions for me?
Commissioner Robinson, I would just like to say on behalf of the rest of the Board of Commissioners that we appreciate your commitment to continue to serve the citizens of Montgomery County. And certainly you and Danny are foremost in our thoughts and prayers, and for his speedy recovery and for your continued good health.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for vice chair?
Madam Chairman, I nominate Commissioner Matheny to serve as vice chair until December 31, 2019.
Do I have a second?
I'd like to second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Mack for Commissioner Matheny to serve as vice chair, seconded by Commissioner Crisco. All in favor? Any opposed? Not. Thank you, Commissioner Matheny.
Thank you. My honor to serve, and certainly we'll help you in any way we can, Commissioner Robinson.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the public forum. Do we have anyone here that wants to speak during the public forum? Okay, we also have 5 public hearings tonight, so if anyone wishes to speak on those items, please hold your comments until the public comments section of that hearing is open. So the public comment portion of this meeting is hereby closed. Okay, the board has had time to review the items on our consent agenda. What's the pleasure of the board to approve these items?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve by Commissioner Matheny, second by Commissioner Mack. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Thank you. At this time, I will turn the gavel over to Vice Chair Matheny, who will conduct the public hearings.
Thank you, Commissioner Robinson. Our first public hearing has to do with a rezoning request by Montgomery County, number RZ 04-2019. Mr. Manager, if you present the staff report.
Vice Chair, thank you. I'll ask Planning Director Andrew J. Hagan to come to the podium, and while Andrew's making his way, if I can, I'd like to just give a little background on these two public hearings. The first two tonight are all related to the same thing, which is the Highway 134 rezoning. I received a phone call several months back from a person that lives on 134, and they live in a double wide, and wanting to replace that double wide, family growing, wanted a larger double wide, and the person who also happened to be an employee, it was a deputy sheriff. And the deputy called me and said that he'd gone down to central permitting, was told that county zoning prohibited him from replacing his current double wide with a double wide. And he was not upset about it necessarily. I mean, obviously it was not what he wanted, but he just wanted to know why. And that's a large part of my job and Andrew's job and staff's job is to try to explain, why the county has prohibitions and regulations and requirements. And so I started with 2 decades ago, the county went to countywide zoning. And that was for hopefully the growth and prosperity of the county. And so we pulled up the county zoning map and we talked through those issues, and frankly, I could not answer his question. If you look at the county zoning map that again has been in place for 2 decades now, that the corridors into the county, 220 north, 220 south, 109 north, 109 south, 731 east and west, those corridors were all zoned R2, which would allow for a double wide or replacement double wide. But Highway 134 into Randolph County was zoned R1. I was not here 2 decades ago, but my guess would be that at the time the county anticipated growth coming from Randolph County, and they were looking at developments residential along that corridor. In the 2 decades that have passed, our zoning plan now, or our economic development plan, is more central 24-27 based, and the 4-laning to the river and to Charlotte and the growth that we're seeing in the lake region. And so frankly, I could not tell him why that it was fair that, or not fair, that he could not do what he could have done on 220 or 109 or 731. And so at that point, I called Andrew and I posed the same question to Andrew. I said, part of our job is to look and to see if the existing zoning laws are consistent with our development plans and what has changed over the last decades. And Andrew agreed with that. And so at that point, I said, well, we need to take it to the commissioners in a work session, which we did, and then Andrew took it to the planning board, and I will now turn it over to Andrew to let him pick up with recommendations of the planning board and what's consistent with our land use and what's consistent with the development that's on Highway 134 now. So Andrew, as always, thank you for your fine effort.
All right, this is the first of 2 requests, RZ 04-2019. The county is requesting rezoning of 46 properties along a portion of NC 134. Proposed rezoning map was included with the agenda packet towards the front of that application. The request, again, is primarily to correct inconsistencies in the zoning designation for this portion of NC 134. R1 zoning is really not appropriate for rural areas of the county, and it does not coincide, as Mr. Woodard stated, with other thoroughfares of the same type. Attachment 1 included with the agenda packet was a county zoning map that demonstrates that for the most part, R1 is only on 2427 and 134. 2427 is probably more geared to treat individual cases on a case-by-case basis of rezoning, probably more for commercial purposes, and it was felt rather than blanket rezone 2427 to treat each case separately as it came up. But 134, again,
probably planned for future growth. However, as time has gone, we haven't seen that growth, and it is more appropriate for that corridor to be zoned R2, as is the rest of the county, 73, 731, 109, thoroughfares of that nature. The zoning ordinance does stipulate Article 4, Section 2.1, that establishes several policy guidelines a rezoning request must meet in order to receive favorable recommendation from the planning board. During their meeting on June 24th, I reviewed these guidelines with the board. Letter A, the proposal will place all property similarly situated in the area in the same category or in appropriate complementary categories. The proposal does seek to rezone these properties along NC 134 from R1 to R2. The change is in accord with similar thoroughfares in the county. There really are no features of this portion of the county 134 that warranted the R1 zoning, even back when countywide zoning was adopted. It's not at all dissimilar from other roadways. In fact, in most instances, it has the same classification, road classification that DOT classifies as NC 109 South, 73, 731, 220. So realistically, the road is no different than any of the other R2 zoned thoroughfares. R1 zoning may also hinder additional growth due to the restrictive nature of residential dwellings permitted on the property. R2 zoning is really more complementary to this area and better suits the surrounding zoning designations. Item B, there is convincing demonstration that all uses permitted under the proposed district classification would be in the general public interest and not merely in the interest of an individual or small group. The uses added to the properties would be quite limited and are already permitted on property to the rear of most parcels included in the request. The list of permitted and conditional uses that would be added to the property are attachment 2 in your agenda packet. And as you can see from the current zoning maps that were included, the R3 zoning district is directly behind all of these parcels. So the new uses being permitted here are already permitted to the rear of these parcels as it is. Again, R2 zoning would permit the use of double-wide manufactured homes, which is the primary driver to this request. And that may also spur additional residential development of underdeveloped properties and generally provide property owners with more dwelling options. Item C, there's convincing demonstration that all uses permitted under the proposed district classification would be appropriate in the area of proposed change. As stated, the request does add very limited new uses to the properties involved. Any new uses which may serve to create disruption or may be more intensive would be conditional and subject to additional review by the planning board and then by the Board of Commissioners. Uses that will be permitted by right are already permitted to the rear of all the properties included in this request. Item D, there is convincing demonstration that the character of the neighborhood will not be materially and adversely affected by any use permitted in the proposed change. This area of NC 134 is characterized by mixed housing already. This presentation that was shown at a work session kind of demonstrates that we have a mix of stick-built, modular, single and double-wide homes along the stretch of 134. Again, the road is functionally no different than NC 731, 220 alternate 73 or 109 South, and all of those thoroughfares feature significant R2 zoning, and those neighborhoods have seen no adverse effects of that zoning. That's clear. Item E, the proposed change is in accord with any land use plan and sound planning principles. The future land use plan map and relevant policy sections were included as attachment 6 in the agenda packet. The future land use plan does appear to designate this project area as rural agriculture. Essentially almost nothing. It's in a white area, which isn't really defined very well on the zoning map, but as you can see from that attachment 6, this is the only thoroughfare that doesn't feature any sort of special planning area, with the exception of 109 South. But every other major thoroughfare through the county has some sort of special planning area. So even back when the future land use plan was developed, it wasn't felt that 134 warranted any sort of special planning initiative or effort. That's not to say it isn't any less important than the rest of the county. It is just not targeted for any growth or special planning designations. There are no defining features on this portion of NC 134 that warranted the R1 zoning designation at the time of countywide zoning adoption. Staff does believe the 5 required policy guidelines have been met. The land use plan is limited in scope for this request, but it does not appear to be at odds with the rezoning. The matter was reviewed by the planning board on June 24th. The planning board, upon finding that the 5 policy guidelines stipulated by Article 4, Section 2.1 of the zoning ordinance had been met, and that the proposed rezoning was consistent with the future land use plan, voted by a unanimous vote of 4-0 to adopt the enclosed consistency statement supporting the amendment. That is towards the end of the agenda packet. The planning board did vote 3-1 to recommend approval of RZ 04-2019 to the Board of Commissioners, with planning board member Velvet Motzinger voting against the request. Please note that a motion to adopt the appropriate consistency statement, also included in your agenda packet, must be made prior to the adoption or denial of the rezoning request pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 153A 341. Is there any questions on this that the board might have on it?
Commissioners, do you have any questions of Mr. Gahagan? Okay, we'll now open it up for public comment period. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on this proposed rezoning or ask any questions? Would you come forward, please? And
All the way forward?
yes, please come forward and state your name and your physical address for the record.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Soy. I live at 185 Old Wagon Trail. And we were notified, this is my counsel, Neil Doucet, so we were notified about these changes, and we don't wish for anyone not to be able to grow their house, you know, the size of their house as their family's growing. We understand that. In fact, I'm wondering why wouldn't they be grandfathered in? Why, you know, if they're trying to replace something, it could have been damaged in the hurricane or something. Why wouldn't they be able to? But to the point, our only concern about all of these large parcels being zoned in this way is high-density development that would impact really why we live here. And so that is our concern, and if you can address that. I grew up a little further south in Charleston, and it was a suburb on James Island. It was not city density. Certainly we're not looking for anything like that, but we just wanted to express our concerns for opening up so many parcels. I'm not talking about an individual homeowner, but significant parcel sizes as we've been seeing on the map for high zoning.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Vice Chair,
Woodard?
I'll be glad to address that concern, and it's a very good concern, and thank you for that question. The county has a minimum lot size of the half acre that still applies, and so you won't have the mass density there. Secondly, I think what you're foreseeing is like a subdivision or development like that. That would not be allowed just by right. If somebody wanted to do a subdivision, they would have to come in, do a subdivision ordinance, have another public hearing. The county has redone, thanks to Andrew, its subdivision ordinances, where now if somebody's gonna put in a subdivision, they have to put in DOT quality roads. They have to hook to public water and infrastructure. But those minimum lot sizes of a half acre would apply, and so you're not gonna see any, you know, one right on top of the other. The county only allows 3 dwellings on one parcel, and even if you have 3, they can't exceed so much of the total square footage. You gotta have green space. So I think your concerns are covered in our existing ordinances. So that should not be an issue. And as far as the grandfathering, and this is more of a state law, means what you have you can keep, but you can't change it. And so nobody's gonna come make you tear down your house, but if the fire or the hurricane tears it down, you can't rebuild it. And so that would be the grandfathering. But you would think it would be that if you you can keep what you have, but unfortunately that's not the way grandfathering works. So thank you for your question.
I think the bottom line is it really wouldn't affect anything going from R1 to R2 as far as density or lot size or
No, it wouldn't affect.
number of dwellings. Is there anyone else who would like to comment from the public? Okay, we need a motion to close the public comment period.
So moved.
Moved, motion made by Commissioner Henson. Second.
A second.
Second by Commissioner Robinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any other questions from the Board of Commissioners of the staff? If not, we need a motion to adopt the required consistency statement. I think the finding is that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the county land use plan. Is that correct, Mr. Gagan?
Correct, yes.
So we need a motion to adopt the consistency statement.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Mack. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Henson. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and finally, we need a motion to approve or disapprove the rezoning request.
I'll make that motion that we approve the zoning request.
Motion by Commissioner Crisco to approve the rezoning request. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that rezoning request is approved. Second public hearing is another rezoning request, RZ 05-2019.
Vice
Rezone-
Chair, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, rezoning some parcels from R1 to R3, Mr. Woodard.
Yes, sir, I was just going to comment that in the process of Andrew working on this rezoning, which basically everything that touched 134 was R1 for the most part. Anything behind those parcels was R3. And so there's a lot of large tracts, as was pointed out. And so the planning board and Andrew, as they worked through this process, thought that some of the parcels needed to go to R3. And so I will let Andrew explain why we're having two public hearings on this, because they felt it was more consistent with the overall county land use plan. Andrew, thank you again.
The second request, RZ 05-2019, is in conjunction with the previous. This is requesting the rezoning of 5 properties along a portion of NC 134 and a few one off of Lucas Road and 2 off of T&T Farm Trail from residential 1 to residential 3. This proposed rezoning map was included with the agenda packet. These properties featured some split zoning or some uncertain zoning districts that were drawn on the map, either partially zoned as R1 or almost completely zoned as R1. None of these parcels have road frontage on 134, so it was thought that while we're cleaning up the R1 zoning to zone these to R3, which is more appropriate for parcels that do not have road frontage on 134. If you look at the attached rezoning map, there are 2 parcels in red on Bandy Road, one small tract and one very large tract. My initial staff proposal was to rezone both of those to R3. The planning board reviewed that and decided to eliminate those 2 from the request. So they're going to remain as R1 for the very small parcel. And for the very large parcel, there is some R1 road frontage on 134. The rest of the parcel is zoned as R3. If you go to your attachment 1 of, well, let's see. I think I have the current zoning map. But in any case, it was felt that the board, the planning board did not want to recommend approval of R3 because they did not want R3 on 134, which is a perfectly reasonable request, and I agree with that. So that was what they chose, to remove those 2. So those property owners were notified at the planning board meeting. I did not receive any questions or concerns from them directly. There were some neighbors who had some concerns, so the planning board also addressed their concerns by eliminating them from their requests. So those districts will stay the same. Again, the zoning ordinance does stipulate Article 4, Section 2.1 of several policy guidelines the planning board needs to review, and the request needs to meet in order to receive favorable recommendation. I'll have to read those again just for the record. The proposal will place all property similarly situated in the area in the same category or in appropriate complementary categories. This is again in conjunction with the previous rezoning request and seeks to correct inconsistencies or perceived incorrect zoning designations for a portion of NC 134. The parcels included in this request do not have direct road frontage on 134, and the request is to rezone these to R3. These properties are better suited to the R3 zoning district and are either primarily surrounded by R3 zone lots or already feature some limited capacity of R3 zoning on the property. That's what they call a split zone parcel. At the time when the countywide zoning was adopted, the zoning districts on major thoroughfares typically were just a buffer. I think it's somewhere around 1,300 feet from center line to either side of the road. That creates significant issues when you're trying to determine what part of which parcels are zoned 1 or 2 or 3, and that could definitely affect what a property owner can put on specific areas of their property. So we no longer do any split zoning, and whenever there's an opportunity to correct it, I try to take that opportunity because it eliminates staff administration issues and it eliminates gray areas in the code that could lead to appeals of decisions. Item B, there is convincing demonstration that all uses permitted under the proposed district classification would be in the general public interest and not merely in the interest of an individual or small group. As before, the uses added to these properties would be quite limited. They're already permitted on property to the rear of most of these parcels, and on some parcels are actually already permitted on various portions as they are split zoned. R3 zoning would permit the use of double wide and single wide manufactured homes. For some properties in the request, and that's the 2 along T&T Farm Trail, it would allow previously legal non-conforming dwellings, which is what the term grandfather refers to. I prefer legal non-conforming dwellings, but it's the same thing. Essentially, in those situations along that road for those properties, if that home were to be destroyed, it could not be replaced with a single wide. This rezoning for those 2 properties would correct that issue, and if that home were ever damaged, it could be replaced as it would be a fully legal conforming use. Item C, there is convincing demonstration that all uses permitted under the proposed district classification would be appropriate in the area included in the proposed change. Again, the request adds very limited new uses. That was attachment 2 included, which is the uses in the R3 district. Any uses that may serve to create a disruption or could be more intensive would be conditional and require additional review by the planning board and board of commissioners. Again, uses permitted by this rezoning are already permitted to the rear of the property or in some cases already on the property itself. There's convincing demonstration that the character of the neighborhood will not be materially and adversely affected by the proposed change. This area 134, as previously stated, is characterized by mixed housing already. Properties included in this particular request do not have any road frontage on 134, so there would be no addition of single wide dwellings along 134, which is the intent of the R2 zoning for RZ04 rather than R3. The proposed change is in accord with any land use plan and sound planning principles. This request follows the same as RZ04. 134 is in an area designated as rural agriculture and does not feature any sort of special planning area. Again, it's not really a area where R1 was warranted, so it's requested to rezone these to R3. Staff does believe that the 5 required policy guidelines have been met. There are no defining features or characteristics along this stretch that warranted R1 zoning. Properties included in this request, again, have no road frontage and are better suited to R3 designation. This also helps several legal non-conforming properties come into full conformance with the code and allow them replacement of their dwellings if they should need it. The matter was reviewed by the planning board on June 24th. The planning board, upon finding that the 5 policy guidelines as stipulated by the zoning ordinance have been met and that the proposed rezoning was consistent with the future land use plan, voted by a unanimous vote of 4-0 to adopt the enclosed consistency statement supporting the amendment. The planning board also voted unanimously 4-0 to recommend approval of RZ05 to the Board of Commissioners. Please note that any motion to adopt the consistency statement has to be made prior to the adoption or denial of the rezoning request. Answer any questions the board might have on that.
Commissioners, any questions of Mr. Gahagan? Okay, we'll now open the public comment period. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment or ask questions about this proposed rezoning? Need a motion to close the public comment period?
I'll
So-
make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Crisco to close the public comment period. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mack. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we need a motion to adopt the required consistency statement indicating that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the county land use plan. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the consistency statement.
Motion by Commissioner Mack to adopt the required consistency statement.
I'll
Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Crisco. Any discussion? All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and finally, again, we need a motion to approve or deny the request for rezoning.
I'll make a motion to approve request for rezoning.
A motion by Commissioner Henson to approve the rezoning request. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Commissioner Mack. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the rezoning request indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that completes our public hearing number 2. Move on to public hearing number 3, which is the recommendation for an economic incentive grant to AmeriQual for an expansion that they're proposing. Mr. Woodard?
Vice Chair, thank you. First 2 hearings were basically on the same issue. The next 3 are basically on the same issue, but we are required to break them down into their own public hearings and hold a public comment period for that. And while Chris Hildreth is coming to the podium, Chris, of course, is the County Economic Development Director, among other titles he has. These 3 hearings are involving Right Food Group's AmeriQual. AmeriQual is the parent company. They purchased Right Food Group, or Right Foods, a couple years back now, I believe it is, and they own Carolina Dairy in Bisco and the facility here in Troy that was Right Foods. AmeriQual is one of the largest, if not the largest, manufacturer of the military ready-to-eat meals. They also now possess the sole patent on the aseptic microwave process, which, as the board knows, is really the future for food processing. And so, in their larger picture, they got a contract to produce protein shakes. And so they were looking around at their facilities, and AmeriQual operates primarily in the Midwest, as to where to manufacture this protein shake. And so there was several areas in other states in consideration to help entice them to do it at their facility they own here in Troy, which, if you've been in the Right Foods facility, roughly half, or maybe not quite half of the facility is just a shell. Floor is unfinished, dirt, and so there's a lot of work had to be done there. But to entice them, the state of North Carolina has pre-approved them for 2 grants, a 1 NC grant and a building reuse grant, to outfit that building, finish the concrete floor, or to pour the concrete floor, mechanical systems, etc., and then the 1 NC grant for the equipment to use in that manufacturing process. In total, public hearing 4 and 5, it's $1 million of state incentives. The way the state incentive program works is that the county is really the grantee. They give us the money and they want us to administer that thing. And so we certainly appreciate AmeriQual making the decision to stay here in Montgomery County. They are looking to create 76 new jobs and invest $24 million to the tax base here with this plan. As part of these grant requirements from the state, the county has to have some skin in the game, so to speak. And so our first public hearing, number 3, is on the county economic development incentive policy. That policy, of course, is in the board packets, available to the public on our website. And that policy was created in 2013 for just this situation, to allow the county to provide its match. So when AmeriQual creates, or Right Food Groups creates, those 76 jobs and adds $24 million to the tax base, they would be eligible for a grant to help us make the match, which is 50% for the 1NC and just 5% for the building reuse. And so Chris has worked very hard with the folks at AmeriQual on this and with the state. And so I will turn it over to him to walk us through these 3 public hearings.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I believe you did an excellent job in going over the 3 items that you have before you now. The first one will need to be moved on in order to, like the manager said, to provide those required matches for each fund, for each grant that Commerce has already announced and delivered letters of intent to fund over. And so at this point, the economic development policy that the board's adopted gives them the opportunity to make these funds available for these companies, and as the manager says, serve as the match. So we're looking at 50% on the 1NC, so that's 250,000, and then 25,000 is 5% on the building reuse. That's where these funds that we're voting on in the first public hearing, our own economic incentive policy will come from.
And looking at our policy with 76 jobs and $24 million, they would be eligible for 5 years for a grant of 74% of the additional taxes paid above the base. And we have calculated their baseline, what they're paying now in taxes in Montgomery County, Carolina Dairy, and the White Food Groups here is approximately $40 million is their baseline. That's included in the resolution. So that $24 million we will track. It will have to be taxable ad valorem increase to the Montgomery County coffers, and if they create the 76 jobs which require benefits, health benefits paid, or a large portion of those paid, and the average salary is over $40,000. So these are good jobs coming to the county, and we're certainly supportive of that growth.
Okay, thank you, Chris and Matthew. We'll now open the public hearing for public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on this proposal to grant AmeriQual in accordance with our county economic development policy for their expansion? Hearing none, is there a motion to close the public comment period?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Henson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robinson. Any discussion? All in favor of closing the public comment period, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we need a motion then are there any questions that the commissioners have of staff about this proposal? Need a motion to approve this award to, a potential award to AmeriQual.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Crisco, second by Commissioner Mack. Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's approved. We'll move on to public hearing number 4. Do you have anything to?
I'll just add, Vice Chair, that, again, the county is the grantee for the 1NC and also the building reuse. Chris and I have met with County Attorney Russ Hollers. Russ has looked over these grants and has no issues with the county being the grantee.
Okay. And the action required in public hearing number 4 is for the county to apply for the 1NC grant for AmeriQual. We'll now open the floor for public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on public hearing number 4? We need a motion to close the public comment period.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Henson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mack. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we need a motion to approve the county applying for the 1NC grant on behalf of Ameriqual Group Holdings LLC. We have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the county approve the grant.
Motion by
Accept the
Commissioner Mack. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robinson. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll move on to public hearing number 5.
Again, this one, we've done several times. Carolina Structural, I think Allendale, I think, Autumn Care, Sandy Ridge.
Tractor Supply.
Tractor Supply, so the county is, commissioners are familiar with the building reuse grant, which is just requires a 5% county match, which again is paid through our hearing number 3 policy.
Okay, we'll open the floor for public comment on public hearing number 5 for the building reuse grant. Anyone from the public who would like to comment? Hearing none, is there a motion to close the public comment period?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Henson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mack. Any discussion? All in favor? Lucy?
Aye.
Okay. We need then a motion to approve the county applying for the building reuse grant.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the county apply for the government reuse grant.
Motion by Commissioner Mack, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robinson. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the building reuse grant application by county on behalf of Ameriqual, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that completes our 5 public hearings, and Commissioner Robinson, I'll return the gavel to you.
Thank you, Commissioner Matheny. I believe that the last item on the agenda is our monthly manager's report. Mr. Woodard?
Chairman, thank you. Action items, we have 2 of them. The first one is board appointments, and the board is appointing to 4 other advisory boards tonight, 4 positions. And so, as we do in the past, since they're separate positions, the board will take them independently. The first is the board approval to nominate or name Misty Coffin as the clerk to the board. I'm certainly appreciative of Misty. She has worked almost 6 years for the county in the finance office, and she knows the goings on up here on the 3rd floor and the phone calls we get, the people that come in and the different questions, and she certainly has a broad knowledge base, and I'm again, very appreciative for her stepping forward and to taking that front line role for the county. The clerk of the board is really the front line, the PIO, and the person that has to chase around behind me, so we're very pleased up here that Misty's assumed that leadership role.
Need a motion?
Motion to appoint her as clerk to the board.
Madam Chair, I make the motion to appoint Missy Coffin as the clerk to the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, everybody in favor of Misty being appointed a clerk to the board?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
The second appointment is Brenda Goss to the Child Fatality Prevention Team. Motion to accept her appointment.
do I have a motion?
Chairman, I move that we accept the
Okay, motion by
child
Commissioner
prevention
Mack.
team.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Matheny. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Third appointment is Carol Whitaker to the Sand Hill Center Board of Directors to serve a term October 1, 2019 to September 30th, 2022.
I'll make that motion to appoint Ms. Whitaker.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Crisco, second by Commissioner Mack. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
The last appointment is Dr. Fred Engel to the Workforce Development Board, term July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2022.
Madam Chair, I make the motion to appoint Dr. Fred Engel to the Regional Workforce Development Board.
okay, motion made by Commissioner Henson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Matheny. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
And the next action item is regarding Montgomery Central High School. It's an amendment to our professional services contract for oversight of the field house. The board will recall that when we bid the Central High School, that the field house was an alternate. The base bids were over budget, and so was the money we had allocated, or the board had allocated for the field house, and there was debate back and forth about adjusting the square footage to the Central High School to get the athletic facilities, and of course, the board was adamant that the school would not be jeopardized, the educational space, and so we just set the field house aside and proceeded with the core buildings and the career technical education facility. We also felt that dealing with the contractor who had already been awarded the low bid, we were kind of somewhat over a barrel that they had us as far as negotiating price. And the field house is not a large building, and we also thought it was an opportunity for some of our local builders to bid on the project. And so now that we can see the end to the construction of the Central High School and the Career Technical Education Facility, we have to gear up for putting out to bid the field house. And so we want to work with Morris Berg, who is the architect now that designed the facility, designed the field house, and is overseeing that construction process. And so Chris is here. He's, of course, our man on the ground with other folks overseeing construction. So Chris can give the board any information that I may have missed, and we certainly want to thank him and the Montgomery Herald. The Herald has been running stories on the progress of the high school and trying to put the heat on the builders and the contractors and their subs to get us the highest quality job and to get it on time. So Chris, do you want to mention anything to this action item?
Thank you. If the board will remember, when the bids were opened, that they were higher than anticipated, obviously. And what we did, we put in a memo of negotiation, we just put $1 million allowance for the field house. This field house already been designed by Morris Berg. We were not going to get that field house that was designed for $1 million. And so that's another reason why we pulled it out, thinking that we probably could come closer to getting the field house that's designed on paper at a more affordable price this way. So we'll see. There's no guarantees.
And we'll have to go through the bid process. The board will have to approve the final product.
That's right.
And so this is not making a decision by any means to build a field house. This is just an amendment to a professional services agreement to do the work preparatory to putting something out for bid. Both the bids will come back to the board to approve
Absolutely.
at that time, and we'll need a budget amendment and so forth. So this is just architectural services.
Yeah. This is put together a revised bid package for just that scope of work.
Or just the field house?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
any other questions for Chris? Okay, do I have a motion to approve this amendment?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Henson and seconded by Commissioner Matheny. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Chairman, the last item is the county reports, and as always, staff is here, and so they need to answer any questions from the board about the information that they present in their reports. They're certainly willing to do so. Also have a few other items just for information. Senator Gallimore visited with us this week, invited the sheriff to be part of that conversation. The sheriff was ever so kind when Senator Gallimore called him to say that there was earmarked funds available for Montgomery County and what the needs were, as he has done in the past. The sheriff said, well, let's get with the county manager and commissioners to see what the needs are, and this grant was $175,000, and We had just been told by the state that our existing animal shelter, Montgomery County Animal Control, was subpar. And so the timing was good there for us to put those funds to the animal shelter. We were certainly appreciative of Senator Gallimore and him helping us get those funds, but he was in town to tell us that he wanted our help in trying to urge Democratic lawmakers, elected officials, especially in the House, to get behind this budget and get it passed. And so I certainly will pass on his request there. He, and as the Republicans are very proud of their budget. I did take the opportunity to let the senator know that there are many, many needs in Montgomery County. That high school is 100% Montgomery County paid. We are getting bids for infrastructure projects that have doubled in cost, $2 million booster pump stations. Part of our economic development plan is regional sewer and regional water systems, and that's gonna take a lot of money. And while, again, we're appreciative of that $175,000 grant that'll be earmarked for the shelter, you know, Commissioner Matheny was nice enough to send me Senator Tillman's newsletter, and it was basically the same request to Guilford and Randolph County to try to push the Democrats to approve the state budget. And, you know, Guilford County and Randolph County, they were earmarked $210 million in this year's budget. You know, we have put in a lot of requests, don't get funded. They got $3 million for a pilot program in their high school, a career academy. $5 million in capital funding for Randolph Community College, $19.5 million capital funding for Guilford Tech. You know, it's nice to see that counties are like Guilford and Randolph are growing. It's hard for counties like ours that's not experiencing that growth to try to maintain core services. And we're certainly wanting to work on education, and it's very difficult, it seems, for us to get any help. But we will keep plugging along, but I did want to pass on that he was in town and made that request. A couple other things that we're working on, Sheriff and I have had to meet several times. We realize that, and this is part of that growth westward, that our lakes are more and more busy with traffic, and it's the Charlotte crowd pushing westward. People are enjoying the lakes, and it's been kind of a raucous summer. And folks are complaining about noise and wake boats and et cetera. And we recognize that wildlife is very limited in resources, the number of folks they have, and having to move them on our 3 lakes. And so I've asked the sheriff and to put together a proposal for next budget year about reintroducing a lake patrol. He certainly feels that if we're going to do it, it needs to be done the right way. And you'd have the right people and the right equipment and the right training. And so I, again, as always, appreciate the sheriff being a great team player, and so the board can look forward to us presenting a proposal for the county to fund some additional lake patrols under the auspices of the sheriff's office to try to keep it safe, to try to not devalue homeowners or their experiences. It's a balance, you know. People that own homes out there, they want peace and quiet, but we want the visitors to come, and so law enforcement certainly would help in that, but it does come with cost. We also have been inundated with no wake zone requests. The process there is the county staff, Chris in this case, sends in the request. Here's where the homeowner thinks needs to be a no wake zone. We send that request in to Betsy up in Raleigh, and Betsy sends it back to wildlife, and they patrol the area, and they make a determination if they think the no wake zone is viable for that area. If the recommendation from wildlife is that it is needed, then they contact the county back and say, now's the time for the Board of Commissioners to decide. If you're in agreement with that, then you pass a resolution. We send it to the state board. So the state board in Raleigh is presented with wildlife's endorsement and the county's endorsement. If both parties endorse it, it moves forward. I think I have sent in a lot of requests. I think we've tried to buoy about every foot of that lake. And again, I understand people's concerns, but that's how it works. So if anybody thinks that their area needs a no wake zone, print out the map, circle where you want it. Chris and I send it in. But we tell both wildlife and the homeowner though, it is that balance and people have to enjoy the lake. And so, but again, that's kind of the process. So you may be getting phone calls from people because wildlife tells them that, contact the county. And it does require county commissioner approval, but not until the end of the process. On a sad note, Molly Alexi is resigned from her position with Montgomery County Cooperative Extension. She has taken a position in Gilbert County, so she's moving on to bigger and better things, or at least more opportunity. And we certainly want staff to grow professionally, and there are bigger challenges and bigger opportunities in bigger counties. Now, Molly's going to stay a Montgomery County resident, but we certainly are supportive of her. But the benefit that she has brought and the things she's done in this county are immeasurable. And Molly is one of the few people that when I say, hey, I got this idea, how we might be able to do something better, that her enthusiasm for that, and she shares the same sense of willingness to do the work to make the county better. So Molly, on a personal note, I am certainly going to miss you, and thank you for everything you've done for this county.
Thank you for your support. Thank you to the commissioners. I appreciate all of the support you give to North Carolina Cooperative Extension. Me personally, all of our agricultural programs, youth development programs, and the food programs that we have to offer in our county. Lori Ivy will be serving as interim director. She's the current county director in Stanley County. The position is open, so I feel like we have a great program, great county support, great state support. So I hope that the position will be filled in the next few months. But thank you for your continued support.
And the process there is the director, the regional director, and the county manager work together to hire. And so I requested that we also allocate one commissioner to that team. And so Commissioner Matheny in the past has kind of stepped in to work and represent the board on those personnel issues. So we would certainly welcome his appointment to this process, or someone else wishes to be involved in the process for picking the next director, then I'm certainly welcome you to that process. Our next meeting is August 20th. Of course, it's kind of short notice, but, or not short notice, short from this meeting. And again, we had to move this meeting, and I apologize, but with the chairman's situation, I know the board was more than willing to move this meeting. We are required by law to meet once a month, and Dottie, I know from staff perspective, again, we're heartbroken. We wish you the very best, and anything we can do, just let us know.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the manager? I'd like to say welcome again to Commissioner Henson being with us, and also thanks to Misty for agreeing to serve as our clerk. She doesn't know quite maybe what she's getting into, but thank you, Misty, for doing that. And good luck to you, Molly. We're going to miss you, but wish you the best. Okay, thanks again to everyone, and thanks for all your thoughts and prayers and actions on behalf of Danny. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Do you have a question?
I had just one more comment. I'd like to wish Grant, Mr. Commissioner Henson, happy birthday. Today's his birthday.
Oh,
So.
that's right.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, we had a motion to adjourn, I believe, by Commissioner Matheny, seconded by Commissioner Mack. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.